So, what do we mean by supplier SMART? Why is SMART capitalized as an acronym? Because you can't even move the needle to become a multi-million-dollar enterprise, ladies, until you understand these five elements, these five strategies, these five moves. SMART, you have to have a signature product. When we start talking about corporate contracting, they are not paying for generalists. They are paying for experts. They are paying for specialists. So you have to, even if you offer 20 things, which I recommend you scale it down, even if you offer 5 great things, you need to know your lead. What is the hero? So you want to have a signature product. You want to know what that is, your specialty, your top seller. What are you known for? The M stands for market awareness. Are you findable? Do you know your market, and are you findable? Do they know where to find you? Do you know where to find them? That's what the M is for. A is for alignment to buyers. Even if I'm findable, who buys what I offer? Do you know that? The R is for relationship development. Now that you have a signature product, you understand your market awareness. How big is the market? How much is tangible to you? How much is already dominated by competitors, right? And then alignment. Who's the buyers? What is their name? What is their role? What are the companies buying what I offer? The relationship piece is where the work starts. Now that you have that information, do you know how to navigate a good old-fashioned relationship? I'm going to teach you today, okay? And then transaction. We make transaction a bad thing, but transaction's a good thing here. What needs to happen next? The word transaction is going to keep you top of mind of understanding your very next move to move the needle. So again, signature product, market awareness, alignment to your buyer, relationship development, transaction. What happens next? We all should know when it comes to any potential buyer, what is the next step? Literally on my whiteboard, if I could turn my camera, I have a whole list of companies. I have Range Me, Supplier Gateway, NFL, Walmart, Atrium, Duke Energy, NASCAR, Charlotte Airport, right? Purdue, Wells Fargo. And then I literally have what's my very next step. You need that view. If you don't have that view, you ain't doing it. What is the one next step? Not the 10 steps, not next year, I hope. What is the very next step? If you have that view, it will keep you top of mind. You will stay busy. You will know what you're doing next. Okay, let's keep going. So today's topics for Supplier SMART, we're going to talk about certification best practices, meaning, Donna Cole, what certification should I be thinking about? I can do so many. Which one should I start with? We're also going to talk about what do I need to think about in order to ace the certification process? What do I need? We're going to talk about, this one is good, if I really want to have my first contract on a call, where should I be hanging out? We're going to talk about that, right? We're going to talk about pitching to key decision makers, which is probably my best stuff yet. Number 3 is my jam, so I cannot wait to jump in. All right. You all are going to have questions, and we've got answers, but we'll stop along the way to answer a few questions. And Taja and Keisha, can y'all keep me honest on if you see questions in the chat? So if you see questions, just come off mute and say, hey, question. All right, cool. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so first things first, certification best practices. By the way, you all gave me this data. So Donna Cole didn't just make this up. Every time you register, you tell me what you want to talk about, and then we build around that. Donna Cole, what certification is best to get? Because I can do everything. I live in all sectors. So here's where you start. The first tip, ladies, is what's called self-expect, right? Self-expect, like and that probably shouldn't say self-expect. That should say self-inspect, actually. So self-inspect, look within, self-reflect, and ask yourself this question. How do I classify myself as an owner? So before you look at any of these boxes, I want you to look in the mirror and say, who am I? How do I classify myself as the owner of this company? And could I prove that up to 51%? Do I classify myself as a Black business, an Asian business, right? A small business, a woman business? So there's a lot of classifications for you to think through, and you can see those right here. These are some commonly used terms that regardless of the sector, it's about knowing self first. What do I identify with? So that's the first thing, because no matter what you identify with, then we can talk about in that sector what they call it. Does that make sense so far? So it's a self-introspective, a self-inspection. I'll fix that word later. So it's a self-inspection, okay? Do I identify as a minority business enterprise, a woman business enterprise? Oh, guess what? I actually identify as three. This is the type of conversation you want to have first, right? How do I identify? Am I three? And they call it box checkers. Am I three box checkers, two box checkers, all the box checkers? Does this make sense? Somebody could just come off mute, give me some energy. Yes, no? Are you tracking?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
This is good. This is
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, I love when I just nail it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that's the first thing. And that's why we're often confused because we don't do this first. Everything else becomes a little bit harder. So the first thing is to ask yourself, oh, okay. So if I were talking about Dawn Nicole, I would say, well, I would say I'm a minority business, right? Based on their classification of Black. Okay, so I'm Black. Oh, but I'm also a WBE because I'm a woman business. Oh, and I'm also FBE because I'm a small business. There's three. Oh, and if I served, which I did not, my husband did, but if I served right there, I am four. Oh, wait a minute. Am I small disadvantage? I don't know. How do I find that out? It's based on where you live. Did you know that? That the small disadvantage has nothing to do necessarily with your background as much as it is geographical. There are some geographical locations that are already deemed as disadvantaged locations, rural, zip code. You can actually look this up. I don't know if you know that. So these are some very important classifications for you to understand about yourself. Now that you know that part, we go to step two. Okay, so now that I understand how many potential boxes I could check, right? My second thing is a sector check. So self-inspect, sector check. So what is a sector check? A sector check is understanding which sector classification of the market now buys what I offer. So I know who I am, put that to the side, but now who buys what I offer? Is it corporate? Maybe, right? Is it local state agencies? Perhaps. Oh, wait, is it federal? Perhaps. So the next question to ask yourself, is it all? Am I selling in all these sectors? Is it one or is it none? Donna Cole, that's cold-blooded. What do you mean, is it none? Well, guess what? There is a sector that none of these people will buy from. And that's if you do something in a sexual sector. Angel, I see the look on your face. So if I was selling striptease classes, none of these people are going to buy it. Right? I'm just keeping it real. So are you in a business, first of all, that is saleable for these actual sectors? None of them are going to put their name on that. So you have to know, right, a sector check. Now, how do you find that information out? You find it out by doing some historical research. All of this is public information, Takesha. Did you know that nowadays you can not only use ChatGPT, but you can use Google to actually take your business. You can do it by NAICS code. You can do it by commodity code. You can do it by industry type. And you can say, who buys these types of products or services in the last 5 years, in the last 3 years? So you can do research. What I would not recommend is that you're a new business in 2 years or 3 years or with less than that experience and you go to federal contracting. You know why? Not only does federal not buy everything, they're very picky and they're going to take you a whole year or more to get certified. I wouldn't start in that sector. So here's the question you're probably wondering. Okay, so now that I did my self-inspection, I know who I am, and I have a good idea of what sector I want to work in. What if I work in more than one sector? Do I just jump into all certifications at once? How do I figure this out? That's the number one question I get. So let me tell you what I do. I personally, if you know that corporations buy what you offer, I start in the corporate contracting sector, and I'm going to tell you why. And I recommend this strategy big time. I start in the corporate sector because that's where the money's at. I'm just being honest with you. And now that you understand the corporate sector, these are the brands. So if you look closely, these are the certification bodies or agencies who the corporate sector recognizes. So now that I'm in the corporate sector, if I already said that I identify as being a person with disabilities, then I'm going to go to disability in. Or actually, I'm a woman, so I could do WeBank. Now you can do what you like, but I'm giving you my best experience. I started in WeBank. And the reason I started with WeBank is I said, well, I am a woman and WeBank is going to classify me as a woman, right? And a woman small business entity. So that's kind of two. And the corporation already said that's good enough. Let me see how this relationship with WeBank goes. See how you do with the first relationship. in that sector. Now, here's a strategy. So here's what I did, and here's what I now teach. Step one, I did the WeBank certification, which we're getting ready to talk about documentation on the very next page. Step one, I did the WeBank certification. Why? Because I knew it would cost me not only $500, that was really nothing for what I was going to get, but I knew that it would force me to put all this documentation together that while I was waiting for that application to get reviewed, I could use the same documentation, ladies, and go right across to my state level and then apply for the state level certification. Now, here's why that's smart. I just spent 15 days collecting, gathering all this data to submit to WeBank. I then created a folder while I'm hot and in momentum. I just did Xerox copies of my ID, my passport. So while I'm hot, I take the same data and go right over here and apply for my city state. And I got that certification in shorter amount of time than the corporate one. I'm gonna go slow. Corporate, while I'm waiting 4 months, take the same data, go across, start this certification, I'll have it in 29 days. I don't know about you, but that's a win. Is everybody tracking? Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Yes, awesome.
Awesome. Okay, that's how you do that. Dawn Nicole, what if I do it in reverse? Let me tell you the risk of doing it in reverse, because everything I say is intentional. Now, it's not a risk, but let me tell you why I didn't recommend you do it in reverse. When it comes to state and county, right, they are a little bit light compared to the corporate one. So you may gather all this stuff and it took you 29 days, and then you jump across to go here and you're going to collect even more data. So it's better to start with your biggest bucket of stuff that go ahead and get the headache out the way, knock it out, get everything. Now you have a master deck, a master folder. Now you can just ace them. Listen, I'm living proof. I started here in October. Within 4 months, I had the corporate one, I had multiple local and states, and the federal one. I'm not just talking to be talking. I'm telling you what I know. Listen to people who know. Are there any questions in the chat, Taja, Keisha, any comments?
There is one question, but I believe you answered it, but I am going to read her question. It goes back to her, Sandra. She said, as a veteran-owned, woman-owned business, minority-owned business, when I introduce and look at myself, do I lead with disabled veteran?
Is that Sandy? So Sandy, what I would do is, if it depends on what sector you want to work with. So what I'm saying is, even if you're a veteran, right? If you look over to the corporate contracting, I don't see where they're necessarily looking for a disabled veteran per se. So you would probably just qualify under veteran. And Sandy, even if you check 5 boxes, remember for corporate, you just need 1 certification to get in, right? So you could just pick. And at this point, I would pick which one has the best track record. And when I did my research, for me, it was WeBank at the time. They were doing the most for their certifying members, right? So again, this went into it. Sandy, does that answer your question? I think Sandy Hardy is probably the veteran asking.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I love that both Keishas didn't know who's answering the question. So Keisha Bass is also one of those leader mentality. So Keisha Pfeiffer was like coming off mute. And so thank you to my Keishas for being on.
I'm sorry.
So Keisha Pfeiffer, she's a natural leader in our cohort too, in the QC. So that's what's happening there. We love it. Awesome. So ladies, now that we have an idea, let me ask, is there anyone who is still confused on what, before we go to the next screen, if you're still confused about what to do first, or if you've already done something that is not in order with what I said, and now you have a question, feel free to come off mute and ask me. Okay. All right. I'm going to assume that you have no questions. Now, did you know that on our website, if you scan this code or go to qcwib.com, all certs, this is where you could go to apply for any of the certifications. We actually spent about 24 hours one day and put all of the links to all the certifying bodies in one place so that you don't have to waste any time. Okay. So if you haven't gone there yet, get to know that page. That page is your best friend. It has all the certs where you can click to apply. And if you run into trouble, it also has Q&A, someone you can reach out to, okay? Now let's talk about best practices. Did you ladies know that where you search for your next bid or project is going to vary based on sector? No one tells us this. Did you know this? Keisha Pfeiffer, you've never seen this screen before. It's brand new. I see you looking at it like, huh? Because Keisha's the one who will call me and be like, was that a new slide? This is new, by the way. I felt like I should tell you, because guess what, ladies? Everyone is telling you to get certified. And when you do, they forget to tell you where to go to search your bids. So getting certified is one half of it. Now that you're certified, let me tell you where to go, where all the action actually is happening. So here's the thing you should know. If you just got your certification in corporate, or you're focusing on corporate projects, you want to go here. What these things are called, RangeMe, Supplier.io, Supplier Gateway, and STARS. These are called vendor management platforms. This is a word you want to adopt into your diction. Vendor management platforms or supplier management platforms. This is a big multi-billion-dollar industry, by the way. And let me tell you some things that most people don't know. You tend to see these when a company that you want to work with, Marcia, let's say that, Marcia, you want to sell your defense products to Walgreens, right? Because it's on store shelves. It's a quick product. I could come in Walgreens and I could get Marcia's self-defense product, her pepper spray or something, right? So she wants to sell to Walgreens. This is a true story. Marcia does self-defense, okay? Marcia, Walgreens is going to tell you, oh, you're a diverse supplier. You want to do business with us? Go set up an account on RangeMe under Walmart, or excuse me, Walgreens. So here's our Walgreens link, our portal. So they're going to send you a diversity portal to Walgreens that lives on RangeMe. So we are used to seeing those links like that. Like we're used to getting those vendor portals. But here's what you might not know. Did you know you could go straight away to RangeMe, Supplier.io, or Supplier Gateway, even without being invited by the company, and you could just go proactively and set up an account? And when you do, it's the difference between I'm on Walmart's pipeline or Walgreens versus I'm on an independent profile and I have access to all the bids. Do y'all understand what I just said? So when you go through Walgreens's door, you just built a profile on Walgreens's site. But when you go on your own and set up a RangeMe account, which we are brokering a partnership with, so don't do it yet because we're getting you guys a good deal, right, Taja? Remember, we're getting them a discount. So if you try to beat us to it, you're going to spend more money than you need to. We're working on a deal with RangeMe. My point is, I just want to educate you. You can go and set up a profile that is a freestanding profile. And the benefit to that is rather than only seeing Walgreens' stuff, you actually can see everyone's stuff, all of their retailers and such, when different bids go out. See that? Does this make sense? Someone come off mute and tell me you're tracking. Are you tracking?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Mhm.
this is new information. You're welcome. Net new. All right.
This is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We haven't shared this before, but after having some private consulting sessions where people was like, where do I look for bids? I was like, oh my God, we're not teaching them that part. We need to. So that's the corporate piece. But here's where you look for local and state. Watch this. If you are in the city of Charlotte, now I know a lot of you are not, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because your same city, whether you're in Atlanta, Vanessa Spence, who's in Atlanta, Angel, whether you're in Indianapolis, they all work very similar. Watch this. If you have a city level certification or a state, there's something that's called early bird. There is a link. All you have to do is Google early bird city bids, Atlanta, early bird city bids, Indianapolis. And then if you're in Charlotte, I have the link. I'll send it to you all if you're a Charlotte vendor. This is where you go to find bids. There's so many bids that come to me that I'm just too busy to entertain. Like there's multi-million-dollar coaching bids and stuff that we could handle as QCWIB, but that's not my focus right now. But they're there. Do you know I just did a coaching session with someone who didn't know that this was here? She didn't know where to look. This is important, okay? Finally, what if you're a federal contractor? Where do you look? So now that you're certified, you're a WOSB, or if you're Sandra, and you're a service disabled veteran-owned small business, amongst other things, where should she be looking for opportunities? SAM.gov. We have a whole video on YouTube on how to search. I'll gladly send it to you. So just so you know, based on the sector you want to play in, where you find the opportunities are different places. Is this helpful? Come off mute and say yes before we move on, if it is.
Yes, very helpful.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Good. Okay, so let's keep going. So now let's move on. So Donna Cole, how do I prepare? What do I need? I'm excited. Here's my best 5 steps, okay? And I took time this morning to give this to you before coffee, so I hope you enjoy this. Here's how you prepare for your certification. First thing I do in order. Number 1, review the docs checklist. Every single organization has before you start, here's the documentation you need. I guarantee this is going to help you out. Before you do anything, before you hit start, they have a whole section on print this. Do print it. By the way, when this conversation is over today, I'm going to go add it in our group because I have WeBank's list of documentation, and I took the time to explain what each documentation looks like and what it means. But do yourself a favor. Before you start, review the checklist, print the checklist for the certifying body. And here's a pro tip. Make a note of the support line contact. Make a note of it early. Because once you get in the thick of it and you get frenzied and you're like, oh my God, I got stuck, or I don't know this, right? Do it up front. That's my first tip. The second tip is gather and compile your docs, both in a local desktop folder, also a Google Drive, and then also email. Donna Cole, why you got me doing all this? Let me explain. It's going to help you. Why are you doing it on a local desktop folder? Why are you doing it on a local desktop folder? Because that's where you work. Where you work and where you store things are 2 different things, ladies. Now, somebody, I'm not going to say her name, she prefers Google Docs, right? But more than likely, a lot of the data that she already needs is already on her desktop. So it's much easier to just move things over in your desktop folder. So I would say for your working folder for this purpose, start with a desktop folder. And then after you have everything, move it to Google, right, to store it and save it. And then also have it in your email. Now, why am I telling you to have it in your email? I can't tell you how many times I was out in public networking and the company, the organization hit me back and said, hey, we need this real fast. And I was like, oh my God, right? Luckily, I saved it in I had an email folder. I said, here you go, right? Here's my 1099s. Here's my proof of, right? Make it easy for yourself. The goal is to finish. You got to set yourself up for success. Number 3, make notes of any gaps of missing documentation and start the inquiry process immediately. That means when you look at your documentation list, ladies, if there's something missing, handle that first. Why am I telling you that? That's going to take you the time. Here's the best practice. When you're doing these applications, you should be giving yourselves 10 days to gather, 20 days to submit. You won't even, so this is how you get to a 30-day cycle. 10 days for gathering. And you need to act like life depends on it. Like, watch out, I'm in gather season. I'm in gather mode. If you don't give yourself this type of goal, you will allow and enable yourself to prolong and delay, and your certification will not get done. Don't do that to yourself. Give yourself a time box. Tell yourself, when I start this, 10 days for gather mode and 20 days for submit mode, and I'm hot as fire if I could finish it before. But do give yourself that goal. Any questions on this before we move on? Questions, comments? Does this make sense, Kim?
This is awesome.
No, I was just going to say this is really good info. Really, really good.
Thank you. I just love y'all today. I love y'all every day, but yeah, thank you. Any questions, Tasha or Keisha Pfeiffer in the chat? Y'all are not very responsive today. Hello.
No
Is
question.
this thing
You're
on?
being,
lot
you're
of
being very
commenting.
informative and you're explaining everything really well. So I think we're just getting it.
Okay. Love y'all. Okay, this is good. Watch this. We're going to switch gears. Now let's talk about contracting and subcontracting strategies for getting contracting work via corporations. So now it's going to get better and better from here. So here's the first thing you should do. Join QCWIB. That's what we do. We're a whole platform dedicated to get you contracts. So the first thing you want to do, ladies, is hang out where the people are that you want to get in front of. So I'm going to say it again. If you want to be a contractor, You need to be in a whole community where there are other contractors. If you want to be a subcontractor, you need to be around the community of people who have contracts to give you a subcontracting opportunity. Now, I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but there are some people on this very call that during masterclass, I said, you need to know who inside of Queen City Women in Business is winning contracts and go introduce yourself to them and make it known that you are available for contract work. I'm not going to say their names, but they're on this call. They came back and reported, Dawn Nicole, I did that. And now me and so are talking and possibly working together. It works. You have to make known what you want. So here's the first step. If you are absolutely ready for contracting, ladies, you are ready to do it. You're looking for your first big contract. Make sure that when we have Marketplace Mondays, instead of saying, hi, my name is Erica, and this is my business, say, hi, my name is Erica. This is what we do. And we are currently open to contracts right now. We are actively seeking contracts in the field of. Tell the universe what you want. Tell people. You know why this matters? I know who's getting contracts in this community. Taja knows, right? Krista Newkirk knows. If we know that, we can connect you. So the first thing I would say is make it known that you are actively seeking contracts in your industry. That's the first thing. Secondly, we already talked about notifying the QCWIB team that you're open to contracting opportunities. Let us know. Send us an email. Now, you all might be saying, well, Dawn Nicole, just by me being a member, isn't that what I did? No, everyone is here for a different reason. Women come for 3 reasons. They come for information first, because they're not ready. They need the information. They come for inspiration, which is belief that I can. And then they come for the introduction, the 3 I's. Which one are you? You have to tell me. Okay, not everyone is at the same place. So if you want it, if you're ready now, let us know. Okay. The next thing you have to do, you have to get certified. Now, Dawn Nicole, why are you saying I have to get certified for access? You want to get certified for access to the bid opportunities, because I just showed you on the other page that the moment you get certified, at least this gives you a ready pool of bidding opportunities. So getting certified and getting on those portals, that's why it says register on these vendor management portals, will give you visibility to all these open contracts. Okay, so make sure you're there. Now, let me just be clear. Supplier diversity is not your only strategy. It is one strategy. It's not the only thing. But my gosh, if you're trying to get in front of a lot of contracts and they are putting them out there, make sure you're playing the game. Be where they are, okay? Also, the fastest way to get subcontracting opportunities is to join a community of practice. Can somebody tell me why that is? Why do you think it matters that joining a community of practice could fast track you to subcontracting? Who could tell me why that might be?
You're hanging out with people who are most likely in the same industry as you are, and they may have work that they can't do all by themselves and need additional bandwidth and capacity.
Absolutely. And who can tell me what a community of practice is here at QCWIB? Who knows what that, because we probably should define for anyone new what that is. Who can tell me what that is? What is a COP here? Anyone?
You have
No.
different ones. You have ones that it's- Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. What is it in general? Not what are they, but yeah. Mhm.
Community of practice is like a collaboration of different of businesses that are all working within the same sector, where you can utilize them to be able to go to a corporate partner and say, look, we have this community of practice that are all coming together, they're collaborating together, they're building together, and you can utilize them for many different things of what you're looking for as contracting to be able to sell them at a higher level.
That's right. That's right, Sandy. So basically, ladies, I'm going to make it make sense really quickly. So as you know, today we have over 500 members and growing, and that's nice on paper. But what if we took those 500 members and started to whittle it down to same industries? What if we knew who was all in the emerging technologies space, and who was all in the products and retail space, and who was in professional services, and who was in healthcare? We would be stronger. Because all of a sudden, when you all start attending the same meetings, which are every second Monday coming, you start to know who's who. So Angel says, oh, you do this? Oh, I do that, right? So it's a closer, deeper touch of specialties. not only are we selling this community of practice to these big corporations who are more interested in meeting a whole community of practice in women in healthcare than one woman, but now, if you're around a whole bunch of women in healthcare and she does lab screening and she has a doctor's office and she has a courier service and she's a doula, right, helping to deliver babies naturally, and she does breast cancer screening, that's powerful. It's powerful to know who does what. And also you can trust and believe that one of those times, one of those women are saying, I'm working on a big project with Atrium, and Angel, let me pull you in. Right? Keisha, let me pull you in because you're my sister in my community of practice. I know, like, and trust you. This is the power of joining a COP if you want to fast track your opportunities as a subcontractor. Now, you can also be a contractor, a prime, which means you own the business, the opportunity. But also you could be a subcontractor easily because you start to know who already has a contract and who wants to pull you in. Does this make sense, ladies?
Yes, it does. That's awesome.
Awesome. Okay.
I have a question, Don Nicole.
Yep.
What do you think about Bonfire for state bids?
Yes, Bonfire. So Early Bird and Bonfire are very similar. So Bonfire is very similar to Early Bird. Early Bird is kind of like, it uses Bonfire. So Early Bird uses Bonfire, but Early Bird is just a technique of letting you know a contract is coming early. And Bonfire is mainly used by city jurisdictions. So I haven't seen corporations use Bonfire, but I have seen city and local state use the Bonfire platform. So Bonfire is very, so just like I showed you all the picture of Range Me and Supplier.io, those are corporate vendor platforms. Bonfire is a local city and state platform that the local jurisdictions like to use at the state level.
Thank you.
Yep. Unless there's a more specific question on what do I think about their process, I can talk about that too, but if not, we can keep going.
I think we can keep going.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to move. We're going to get into the best part of the day. This is where I need you to wake up and lean in. So now just to recap everything, we just talked about, Dawn Nicole, if I'm not a contractor yet or a subcontractor and I really want to be, what are the actions I need to be taking? Where do I need to be hanging out? What do I need to be doing? The first thing is, anytime you want to be of it, you have to be in it, right? You got to be a part of it, right? And so expos, conferences, right? Figuring out the best expos and the best conferences. Here's a little pro tip that I'll share with you that no one told me until it was too late. I thought that I needed to be hanging out at supplier diversity conferences, right? Because that makes sense. You would think. No, let me tell you what I actually learned. I actually learned that there was something more powerful in me going to like technology conferences. So like CTO gatherings, CFO gatherings, innovation gatherings, product gatherings, right? So sometimes it doesn't look like what you think. Meaning, when I first got into this work with QCWIB, I thought that we needed to be at every single supplier diversity conference. Well, that's not true. Because if you think about our messaging, ladies, so if my messaging is going to someone who's a chief technology officer of a major company, and I'm there to position them to do business with the women in our directory who are in the technology field, well, that makes sense for me to go to that conference and introduce ourselves and say, hey, next time you have a capacity, issue, or you're looking for some new innovations, some new ways to bring in independently owned contractors, we have a whole directory of independently women in business who are in the tech space. So it makes sense for me to be at a tech conference. So thinking more strategically, it doesn't always look like what you think it looks like. You might have to fish in a different pond. Okay. Now we're going to talk about LinkedIn, and this is where I need you to lean in. Okay, so I hope everyone is writing and taking pictures. I'm going to show you, I don't want to cuss, but some bad to the bone strategies. I don't have almost 30,000 connections on LinkedIn for nothing. And yes, I'm bragging. You know why? Because it took work. So now I'm going to show you my best tips. The first thing I'm going to need you to do is, if you are putting this, I want you to put the supplier diversity piece to the side. I want everybody right now to know the first half of this conversation was all supplier diversity stuff. Now I'm going to show you how to be a shark. I'm going to show you how to retool your thinking and build good old-fashioned relationships that will get you in the door, and you will never use the word supplier diversity for this technique. Are y'all ready? Who wants to? No, only if you're excited. Somebody tell me you're excited. Tell
We're
me you want.
ready. We're
Excited.
excited, Nicole.
We're excited.
Yes, I'm ready.
Super
Okay.
excited.
That's what I need. Okay. And another cup of coffee. All right. So here's literally, let me share this with you. The way that I got to the NFL was this technique I'm going to show you. The way that I got in front of Range Me, the CEO of ECRM, was this technique. The way that I got to Supplier Gateway to broker that deal was this technique. I don't use supplier diversity for most things. I just want you to know I teach it because there are women who need it. They need to understand it. But truthfully, you need to understand both worlds. This is the other world. First thing I want you to do is I want you to create a top 5 target list. Who are the big companies you really, really want to get in front of? You have to start there. Your GPS can't take you to a destination if you don't have a target. Where are you going? That's the first thing. Now that you have your top 5 target list, I want you to go to LinkedIn and I want you to do a search that looks like this. Let's say that one of your top 5 was Coca-Cola. You're going to go to LinkedIn. You're going to watch my screen. You're going to type in Coca-Cola right here. These are my best strategies. I hope you watch it. I charge a lot of money for this. You're going to type in Coca-Cola. When you type in Coca-Cola, the next thing you're going to do, see these tabs right here where it says people, post, companies? You're going to then type company. See that? That's the second thing you do. So again, build your top 5 list. Go to LinkedIn. You're going to search for each one. Assuming Coca-Cola is on that, you're going to follow my next steps. You're going to type in company. Now, you could type in people, you could type in posts, but we want to see Coca-Cola company. Why, Dawn Nicole? Because when you type it, the next thing is going to come up. It looks like this. Are you following them? So if they're on your top 5 list, the very next thing you need to do is put them right in your schematics, right? Your algorithms. How? By following them. Don't be one of those people who are targeting a company, but you're not even positioned to have any insights. You need to follow them so you can start getting posts, insights, and more. So now that you click the follow button, and you can see when I did this, I was already following them. You're going to hit follow. Here's the next thing you're going to do. Now, watch this. When you type in Coca-Cola and you hit companies, ladies, you're going to see many results. Like there's 200 results under Coca-Cola. Which one do you want? So assuming, let's just say, assuming you're in food and beverage, or you sell products for pretend for this scenario, I'm going to go with the first one. So I'm going to click Coca-Cola. When I click it, here's what opens up. Look at the right side of the screen. This comes up. So watch my steps. I just clicked Coca-Cola, then the company came up. So now the food and beverage division of Coca-Cola comes up. What do I do next? Do I go to their homepage? Nope. Do I go to About Us? Nope. Do I go to Posts? Nope. Do I go to Jobs? Definitely not Jobs, because I'm a business. Do I go to Life? No. I go to People. Why? Because the name of this slide is called Key Decision Makers. If I was teaching you something else, I go to the Posts, right? So now, since I want people, and people are the decision makers, I'm going to click on People. When I click on People, I get thousands of results. One of those results is Victoria. Check this out. Victoria is the director of equipment and innovation. What now, Dawn Nicole? So first, let me pause and tell you this. This is why you have to know who buys your stuff. But in order to know who buys your stuff, you have to know what you do. And before you know what you do, you have to know what your main thing is, right? So for pretend, let's just say that I'm in the construction industry. I'm an equipment leaser. I'm an equipment supply. And so Victoria is the perfect person that I want to get in front of. Now, you have to, when you do this search, who are you looking to get in front of? So we're going to, for pretend, come off mute. So we're going to come off mute, and I want to hear, based on your industries, taking a big company like Coca-Cola, who would you talk to? So Chef Maria, who would you, for what you do, which is DEI training and speaking and more, who do you want to talk to at Coca-Cola? What title is that?
It's probably HR or L&D.
Okay. Okay. So for Chef Maria, okay, Kimberly John Burns, who are you trying to get with at Coca-Cola based on what you do?
I probably would need to speak to someone in procurement.
Okay. 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 Now let's think through this for a second. I want y'all to know that procurement's only job is to take the bids that someone else already has and just put the bids out. So you might not need procurement because procurement's job is just to do this with bids. They are agnostic. They don't care. See that? See how we got to think. Remember, put our supplier diversity hat over. Now I want you to think about good old fashioned people. Remove the pitching part for a second and be human and curious and think, oh, if I could meet someone who could further my business that I could learn from or share something with for what I do, who would that be? Tell me what you do again, Kimberly John Burns. Let's figure it out as a team real fast.
Okay, so I help employees create budgets that are a blessing, not a burden. So I help them so they don't have to live check to check, paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, so like with this CFO. So let's just kind of talk this through. Let's walk the dog here. All right. So the CFO, the chief financial officer, or someone in accounting, would they have an interest if you had a program that helped their employees better manage their money? Would that be a nice conversation for you?
It would. It would.
Ah. Oh, well, look at us being human and putting the pitching to the side and being like, you know what? And that's the thing, Kimberly, what I'm being funny here about is that really, watch this. What if we removed the word pitch and we replaced it with piquing curiosity? Polite conversation. Y'all better snap it
Come
up.
on now. Yes.
Listen, because let me tell you, this is where we get hung up. This is the thing that no one tells you. You don't have permission to pitch until you've been invited. Otherwise, you're a pest. It's not pitching. Think about this for a second. Even pitch competitions are inviting you to pitch. It's an invite. Even when you're on an elevator, you're still being invited. Someone says, tell me what you do. But if you just pitch first with no invite, it's being a pest. So what if we change our thinking and we go back to being really human with this thing? And we say, you know, what if I could just pique curiosity again through polite conversation? So then, Kimberly, I love what you said to me, because when you talk about helping employees better manage their money, the accounting department and HR would love to talk to you about a program that helps employees with money management and budget management. That makes sense to me.
Makes a lot of sense to me too.
Makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, now we're thinking differently. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Was that
Thank
helpful,
you.
Kimberly?
Yes, it was. It really was. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And then I'm going to actually tell you the words I use when I send the invite, which is golden. I'm telling you, it's golden. So we'll talk about that in a second. But who else? I want to hear from some more people. So you're talking, you get ready to talk to Coca-Cola. Teresa Tidwell, travel and all the wonderful stuff you do. Who do you need to talk to? Who do you think you would talk to at Coca-Cola? Do you know Teresa Tidwell?
I would talk to someone in human resources.
Okay, tell me more. Tell me, we're not wrong. We're walking it out as a team. Tell me what you're after. What are you thinking when you say
someone in events, corporate events.
Oh, well, guess who I think you need to talk to then? Oh, here's what I'm thinking. So who plans the events in corporate? Is it HR or is it someone's executive assistant?
Executive assistant.
Oh, well then, okay. Awesome. So it sounds to me like the people who are planning the events management team, Teresa, it sounds like the executive assistants who are tasked with creating fun events, creating group tours and things like that. That would be a sweet spot for you, right?
Yes, it would.
So now if we go back to this slide, for you, who Teresa's looking for is different than who Kimberly's looking for, than who Donna Cole's looking for. See how this works?
Yes, awesome.
Awesome. All right, let's see. Keisha Bass, you know I'm gonna pick on you for a second. Keisha, can you tell us who you might be looking for at Coca-Cola? And that's if you haven't stepped away from the desk. I'm just assuming you're connected. If not, I am curious to hear from Christy too. So Christy, who might you be looking for at Coca-Cola for what you do?
Yeah, for me, I would be looking for the chief people officer, chief talent officer, CHRO, anybody in that HR people-y space.
Okay. Now,
Or even to CFOs. We can get into
yes.
them too. Yeah.
So before you say anything, Christy, I agree with you on the CFO. You all, why do you think Christy just said the CFO? Why is the CFO really a good idea for anything? Who can tell me? I learned this a few years ago in sales. I'm just curious. Who knows why connecting with the CFO could be really good for you, no matter what?
Is it
Connected
control of
to the
money?
budget.
Connected to the budget. Okay, what else? That's one. That's one obvious one. But what else? Anyone else know? Taja, I see the wheels turning. Taja eats sales for sleep. This is her. Taja, what are you thinking right now?
So the CFO is probably one of the closest people to the CEO. They are the ones that have the CEO's ear pretty much at all times, either
Yes.
the CFO or the COO, which I would strongly encourage you to also add the COO as someone that you would be wanting to identify.
Yes. Awesome. Very, very good perspective. So here's what I learned, you all. I learned years ago that out of all the C-suites, out of the CTO, the CHO, the CHRO, all these C-suites, the CFO is the least engaged. That guy gets no love. Nobody emails him. Nobody checks on him. Like out of all the C-suites, this is what we learned in the sales course one time, is that the CEO is always getting hit up naturally. The COO is getting hit up. The HR person is getting hit up, right? But the CFO is just left in the corner, right, by himself. And so they're so thrilled, and I put this to the test so I know it works. They're so happy when they see a piece of mail come in or anything for them that they're on it because they get no love. So this was a technique that I was taught. Then I tried it for a major company, a South Carolina-based company, and it worked. And me and this CFO had a great relationship. And then he connected me in the door to all the names I needed to connect. There you go. That's a pro tip. So good. So Christy, anything else before we jump?
So the other one that I also do try to align with are the procurement officers as well, because they give me some inside information as to what the process is, if they have the limits of authority of before it has to go up the chain to who has to sign what. So it allows me to make sure I get the right people in the room up front before, getting too far down the path.
So, okay, so let's go back to what Christy said. So Christy's focus for talking to the procurement officer is a little different than her focus for building the relationship with the actual person, because the procurement officer is sort of the gatekeeper for what I'm hearing you say, Christy, and you want some intel before you start.
Yes.
You want to know. So so here's a piece of intel that if I were Christy or any of you, I would be asking right away. Hey, procurement officer, do you have a short-term or long-term roadmap or forecast of upcoming opportunities? Is this public? Is this something, right? And so that's definitely a good question to ask a procurement officer. Do you all see value in building the relationship this way without ever having to say the word supplier diversity? Because you do know that this is the traditional way, right?
Yep.
This is how it used to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. And actually, I personally won all of my corporate contracts this way. It was never through supplier diversity. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you don't need it as a strategy, because I have gotten into many doors, other ways, stages and access to opportunities. But contracting, my early days was good old fashioned relationships. And I think Tangela, you remember us talking about that a little bit with teaching women both ways. I don't know if you're on mute or not, but I know you were passionate about making sure that women understood supplier diversity wasn't their only option as well.
Yes, absolutely. And, one of the things that I would say, I've always tried not to lean in with the supply diversity component or the certifications. And for me, it was always the chief technology officer, chief information officer, or the chief HR officer that I target. But you're dead on, Don Nicole, dead on.
Yeah. I think it's so sometimes conversations are as appropriate as the audience, and we're teaching you that this is a conversation you can have just by building relationships. So if someone could come off mute, because I know we have a little bit of time left, what do you think? So when I send my first email to Victoria, in order to pique her curiosity but not pitch, what might I say? So let's look at her role. Remember, she's Directory Equipment Innovation, and my pretend company, I offer equipment supplies. What could be in my connection request message of 300 character count that would not be pitchy, but would pique her curiosity? What do you all think that could look like? I'm curious to hear some thoughts. Anyone?
Mine are probably too salesy, so I'm waiting to see what somebody else has.
Let's hear what you would do. It's you're brave.
I've done this before, and I usually say something about, I do diversity training through desserts, and ask them, just ask if I can have 15 minutes on their calendar, to explain it or to talk about it, something along that line. That wasn't very well worded, but.
No, that's okay. We're doing it off the cut. Let me tell you what I say. I'll make it quick because I know we're at time. So there's going to be 2 touches you have here. Okay. One touch is what you put in the connection request to make Victoria accept your request. And then the second touch is what you say after she accepts. Now, I'm telling you, I have probably a 90% close track record on LinkedIn. That means anyone I go for business, I've closed 90% of those. When I say close 90%, I mean relationships that have moved to the next level. It hasn't always been money, but when I say close, I get acceptance clearly at 30,000 almost connections, and then I get meetings and things happen. So let me tell you what I do. If I were truly in equipment supply and I wanted to connect with Victoria, I would pique her curiosity and have polite conversation that sounds like this. Hi, Victoria. It's great to connect with you because, like you, I'm an independently owned woman business in equipment supply, and I'd love to follow the initiatives, projects going on with Coca-Cola this year. Really excited to be. So I create excitement. I create excitement by being human. Oh my God, we're both in equipment supply, is what I'm trying to say. I'm an independent woman-owned business in equipment supply, but I've had my eye on the great work Coca-Cola is doing, and I'd love to follow the conferences. I'd love to know what's next. I'd love to do this. Let's connect and maybe consider a meeting, right? Something in that ballpark that just feels human. Once she connects with me, I'm going to like some posts. I'm not going to be phony, because if these are people on your short list that you're really, remember, this is about building a relationship. I'm going to follow some stuff. I'm going to like some stuff. And then within about 15 days of that acceptance, I literally could show you a whole list of my very next touch goes like this. Victoria, again, great to be connected with you. It looks like there might be some opportunity for some synergy. Are you open to taking a quick call with me to see how we might work together? Dawn. And it's a question mark. I swear to you, even though everyone has different techniques, it's the shortest message ever. Are you open to taking a quick call with me to see how we might work together? Question mark. Tasha, hand up.
Spot on. Now my salesperson comes out of me. So
Yes.
Bear with me for a quick moment. Following them gives you the opportunity, like Dawn Nicole said, to engage and find out what it is they have been doing. What are they currently working on? Using some of that information in your introduction that sounds something like, I read, I saw, I heard you say, blah, blah, blah. I would like to know more about that specifically. Gives them that opportunity to connect with you because they now understand you are tracking what they are doing. So the more you can influence what is happening in their universe, the better your chances are of them opening up that door for you. So making certain that you're leading with them and not you is very critical in that first conversation, that first acknowledgement or ask.
Thank you, Tanja. I love that. And I should have, So part of the reason you're following them is to get all the good insight. So you know just what, that's why I said follow first. That's why it's the first thing on here. Follow what they're right. Don't sell, build a relationship. Don't sell. So price shouldn't come up. Don't price, right? It's just build a relationship, ask for permission, build a relationship, like it, get to know them. That's why my first connection request says, I'm acutely interested in this topic. I've been following you. I see a conference coming up. Would love to stay connected to you. Maybe I'll meet you there. We'll learn more. So like Taja said, use that common language of what they have going on to connect into Victoria. Then once you have her, after liking and engaging, I say, really love what you all are doing. Are you open to a quick call with me so we can see how there might be a way to work together? I still haven't sold her anything. I say if and how, and it's okay if we can't. And when I leave that question mark, I get so many calls. Range me, I can keep going. NFL, like literally with the technique I'm giving you. Okay. Even if they say nothing right now, I keep following, I keep engaging. Oh, and I keep finding other people. I don't only stop with that person. Okay, so we are at time. I want to stop sharing and I need to hear from you. Was this helpful today, ladies? And will you be back to Supplier SMART? Let's hear from you.
Yes, this was awesome.
This was absolutely helpful.
Okay, I'm writing feverishly.
This was great. I need the recording. It was great.
Oh, we'll get the recording. Okay, I'm gonna say